I was going through a very difficult time at like a very young age. I was just experiencing depression and would wake up and not feel like I'm going to ever be happy ever again. When you're going through those down moments, of course, sometimes they it may seem like they last forever. Even the things that you find that are helpful for you are not necessarily happening. Just even if it's just one thing for a few weeks, just that one thing makes a big difference until you feel comfortable or in a space to continue expanding.
I love actually looking at times when I struggle with practices as a way to see, okay, how is life without doing it and how is life with doing it? Do I notice any difference? Where am I in terms of my state of being without these practices? And if you feel like you're not able to do certain things and you're judging yourself for that, and the guilt will actually be even more heavy on you than not doing the practices. I saw that you were sharing with people that there is a certain struggle that you go through, that everybody goes through at certain points in life. And it had to do with the consistency, with being consistent with our practice or being consistent with anything as such.
It's something that's super common. People experience a lot of the time, but you don't really hear people talking about it, unfortunately, whether it's for a reason with them being maybe embarrassed or guilty, which is a big feeling that comes into play that, stops people from even doing their practice. But yeah, it's something that I think everyone experiences, including myself, including other teachers. And it's something that's really good to share about and be honest about, because then someone else can feel like, hey, I'm not the only one going through this, right?
Exactly. Yes, I love that. I really feel that the honest reflection and also being honest with ourselves helps us to actually overcome it, other than trying to run away from it, trying to pretend like it's not there. And especially seeing other people going through the same thing and talking to them about it can also help, because once we face whatever is stopping us from doing it, once we are clear about what's in the way, then we can find a solution as to how to overcome it. At least we can set up some steps.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, is once you're clear on what the actual issue is and actually addressing like, hey, I'm feeling like this and this is preventing me from doing X, Y, and Z. Once you actually face that and accept like, okay, this is the actual issue, that's when you can take that step to see, okay, what is it that I need to do to correct it? And I can only say these things from my own experience. And of course, like I've talked to other people and they've said it, but just sharing from my own place, over the years, I've been doing sadhana and on this path since 2015. And it's been a big journey of a lot of ups and downs, which many people can also relate to. So the thing is, when you're going through those down moments, of course, sometimes it may seem like they last forever, or you're just really going through it and you don't necessarily see a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So I think especially once you are doing some sort of spiritual practice and maintaining sadhana, you tend to start to realize, okay, this is something that's helping me. But when you are going through those moments or those low points, even the things that you find that are helpful for you are not necessarily happening. And that's just something I think the mind has its own tricks that it plays on us that we have to recognize. And once that recognition takes place, you look at it from a place of, I say, of just non-judgment, just seeing, okay, this is where I'm at. It's okay that I'm at this point in my life for whatever reason, whatever's going on. And then you see, how can I, do something? For me, it's just saying, okay, I can't do this today, I can't do that today, but at least I'm going to try to do just one thing, one practice out of the many that's there, out of the many that you may be used to doing. So especially if you're doing a lot of sadhana, I feel like people get overwhelmed or have this idea of like, okay, I have to do everything. Or if I'm not doing everything, then I'm missing out and I end up doing nothing. So I think that's also a big thing of just saying, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm going to do just this one thing today. And from there, you build onto it. So just even if it's just one thing for a few weeks, just that one thing makes a big difference until you feel comfortable or in a space to continue expanding.
Yeah, wonderful. I really love that. There's something that came to my mind when we were talking about it. It is this sensation that we have if we don't feel as if we are constantly achieving a spiritual milestone, finishing all the practices that we have learned, if we don't feel as if we are constantly reaching new platitudes or a new high, we feel as if we're not doing enough and we're not progressing. It makes us try to do the work from our ego's perspective. I need to achieve, I need to grow, I need to do all of these things in order to feel a certain way. But what I recently discovered is that we actually have to understand the relationship between pressure and release. And I think most people are trying to run after the release, trying to feel the high, the bliss, the ecstasy, the joy, and they judge the pain, the agony, the sometimes the hatred or the anger that tends to come up as well. And if we can understand the relationship between pressure and release, and pressure needs to build up, which will eventually lead to release, and that will lead to expansion. So I love what you said, that people tend to think, oh, this is going to go forever. I will never get out of this. I think it's really, really important that we look at it as an opportunity to look at what's in the way, or what's in between where we want to be and where we are right now, and to realize where we have come so far, because the pressure actually helps us to move forward. And we need to learn to be in harmony with moments of pressure and not just chase outcomes of relief.
Yeah, these are all really great points, and especially that point about that pressure. There's like an internal pressure that I think is definitely good. And I have a friend that I was talking about the same thing, just outside of, practices, just in life in general. And, you want to be in a space where you're not stressing yourself out, but it is good to have a certain type of like internal pressure, a good sense of pressure to help motivate you to do things. But again, it's in a way that there's a balance that you're, okay, I'm turning this on and I know where's the right point to let it cook, so to speak. And then from there, you see the progress. Once you start making those moves, making that momentum towards something, then it expands and starts happening on its own naturally, right? And I think it's not just all be that same formula. It may be, okay, we lose our momentum, we lose our steam for some reason, it's just life. It has its natural ups and downs. But at least you recognize, hey, this is where it is. And you have tools or ways to motivate yourself or get back on track to build that momentum, build that steam or that pressure again, so that you continue building upon these things that may take place. And another good point that you mentioned, just to tie this together, is that I've seen just from my own meditation and whatever over the years, that naturally it just came to me that it's like, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, and there's no one to be. So when you find that point of, okay, I've worked so hard or worked so intensely towards something, and then you have that realization of this is what it is, there's nothing to do, no one to be, then you have that sense of freedom as well once you let go. But it's all in combination to get to that point.
It's really beautiful to stop comparing ourselves to other people. And I feel like, especially in the time that we live right now, that's kind of a very common issue, that there are so many ups and downs. They can be so drastic, but because of the nature of social media, there is always an intent to portray the best version of ourselves, and to put up the most refined, the most well-refined version of yourself for people to consume, to see, and we feel judged. And if not judged, then there is the sense of comparison. You scroll in your Instagram and you see other people doing the best that they can, and people are working out, people are eating right, everybody seems to be doing the best, having the most productive time of their life, but you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough. So I feel that sometimes actually again it comes from the sense of missing out on something and feeling like we're not doing enough because we are comparing ourselves to each other. So the sense, what you were saying just before, I feel that that can really help with overcoming that comparison.
I mean, with social media, it's completely different world that we're all dealing with, especially the younger generations. It's something that they're, born into, so to speak. It's just a natural part of their life where, older millennials and, older generations, we at least had some taste of, life without constant media or constant stimulation of seeing, look at what all these people are doing. And yeah, naturally people want to share the good things that's happening in their life or all the pretty things and, everything that's aesthetic. That's just what, outwardly social media or just visually is pleasing. But those moments are those times where you encounter naturally the human experience is not just these beautiful, awesome, fun moments, right? So I think that that's one thing that hopefully we'll see a lot more of authentic sharings, especially I know there is a lot of talk about, as we know, the pandemic, there's also the mental pandemic. That's something that people are starting to face. And I think social media plays a big role in that, comparing yourself to someone else. If this person has this and why don't I have that? Or why am I not like that too? Why am I not in that place of my life? And all of these things contribute to that imbalance, I guess you can say.
There's something that I feel that comes up for me, and that is that people tend to lose the motivation to do something. And I feel that if somebody is losing motivation to, let's say, get out of bed, or do something which they really know that they would really benefit from doing that, actually what you need is just a spark, because you already know that whatever you want to do is going to help you feel better. You just need a little bit of a spark. And I feel like you have already talked about it, and that is, the spark is to just gradually progress instead of overloading. So what you said about thinking about doing everything all at once, instead of that, if you can just think about doing one thing at a time, if it's just like you said, just sit down in the morning when you get up, don't pull out your phone the first thing, just get up, take a breath, and feel your body, put your feet on the ground, and just be there for a moment, instead of immediately jumping into the doing. Just try to focus on the being.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a really great point of just how simple it is to be present with waking up, opening your eyes, and like you said, just putting your feet on the ground and being with those very early moments of your day. That even hearing it is a good reminder. These things that you do all the time, you take it for granted. So for you, just explaining that, it's just making a big point for me, just remembering that and bringing that presence, that awareness to those things, those small, really small things that are always going to be a part of your day, no matter what, whether you're doing a practice or something. Just even within those very regular moments that everyone experiences, you can make use of that to, again, use it as one little step at a time.
Yeah, it really happened very strongly to me, that I was so caught up in the doing state, meaning I was always trying to do something. I was thinking about what should I do next? What do I need to take care of? What is the next thing for me to do? And I was really struggling to stay in that resting state, in that where I just don't think about what's the next thing, where I can just be in whatever I'm doing right now. And this excessive doing, this I need to, it really make me, I was losing my balance, and I was feeling like, what's the time of the day? Why am I sleepy right now? Why am I wakeful right now? In the night, in the day, my whole rhythm was gone because I was only thinking about doing, getting things done.
Do you have anything that you could share about what helped even shift your mindset into recognizing those moments where you are completely just caught up in the doing? Because there's so many people who are in the corporate world or just have work, families, and they're always caught up, myself included. I work full time. I'm always thinking, what's the next project? What could I do outside of work? And just being able to bring that awareness to larger portions of our day. What would you recommend, or like what are some tips and insights that you've come across to help you even get to that point, to start incorporating that?
Looking at the question that you asked, once I noticed that I was in this rut that I couldn't get myself out of, I found something that made me feel excited. And that was, in my case, the gym. And, I would say, for whoever is listening, if you can find something that makes you excited, if you can just do that and pair it with something that you don't feel so excited, but that you want, that this is something that will benefit you, it can work. But on the other hand, I agree with what you said, that you can, if you focus on doing one thing at a time, that can also help you a lot. And I've countered that as well. Is there something that you want to say before I would love to jump on that?
Yeah, no, just one thing to add too about pairing something together with something you're excited about. I'm just remembering now, maybe a year or so ago, I was just really at a down point emotionally due to certain things. And I wasn't even doing my practice. And I was also like physically like not feeling well. So I wasn't able to do it. So one thing I was excited about, or what for some reason would think about, is, okay, I'm still getting up really early in the morning, but for some reason I'm not able to do my regular routine. But I'm thinking, okay, if I'm getting up early in the morning, what is there something else that I could do that I would really enjoy? And at the time I was living not far from the ocean. So it was like a 20-minute drive. And I thought, okay, well, I'm here. I can drive to the beach and watch the sunrise, something so beautiful that normally, already nearby, I've been living there for so long, but I'm not doing it. And I was like, okay, if I'm not able to do this thing, at least this one little thing I know is going to help lift my day up, help get me into a better space so that I can do something else or just go about the rest of my day. And there's so much that came about just even going to see the sunrise, walking, and even just being able to share from that moment, which I never even thought would come of it, So even these things where you act, okay, I'm going to do this, but you may not expect the result that comes from it. And it's something way better, way more that can come from that, just from, doing something different or just doing it. I think at the end of the day, it's just do something.
Mm. I love that the sun is so powerful. I mean, obviously there are many other things that can work similarly, especially nature. But yeah, just being in the sun, catching the sun rays, it can be truly, truly fantastic to just feel. Again, you feel your body, you feel the heat, you feel the sensations in your eyes, on your skin, and you can really tap into that, and it grounds you.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of going back to even not feeling motivated to do something. Even if you're doing something, just that moment of action is going to take you into the next step anyway. So it's like, okay, I'm putting one foot forward. The next foot anyways will have to follow at some point. You're not going to stay stuck if you're actually doing something. It can be anything, and from there, the direction a lot of people, maybe don't act because they don't know what's the next thing that's going to happen, or they have this expectation of something happening. But, just by doing it, it becomes more clear. What do I need to do next to make this happen? Or what is it that's going to be most beneficial from just doing it?
Yes, yeah, perfect. I mean, you're going exactly in the direction that I was thinking to take this as well, which is every day we have at least one task that we know we need to do. And if we just find out what that simple task is, like you found out, okay, it's not waking up in the morning and doing some practice. It's actually waking up in the morning and going to see the sunrise. And if we focus our entire being on completing this one thing, pretend like nothing else exists, with this extra focus, this unified focus, we will be able to complete this task most efficiently and most involved, single focus. And once we complete it, then, as you said, we can go to the next one. But actually, we don't have to think about all the things that we need to do or that have to be done. If you can just do one thing and move on to the next, then this one thing, it will give us a relief. By doing that, which we really wanted to do, once we are done with it, it will give us a relief, and it will carry us a momentum to take the next step, as you said. And what I also love about this is that it can actually be translated to doing our practices as well, because oftentimes we're thinking about already the next practice while we're doing the one that we are doing right now, and we're not really focused on the practice that we are doing, because we're thinking about all the other practice that we are doing next, or that we have to get done. So I love this, because instead of thinking about all the things to get done, if you can just do one thing and really throw yourself into it, it will just create so much more momentum and give you so much more joy and fulfillment as well.
100%. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that is one of the most common reminders that, as a teacher, when I speak to students, that this is the only thing that they need to focus on. It's not how much you're doing, but how you're doing it, how you approach what you're doing, whether it's your sadhana, your practices, or anything. It's how you're doing it. And just from the quality of bringing that, your full attention, your full awareness to those things, it enhances just that one thing, it enhances it that much more. And I think going back to saying, okay, if I can do this one thing, even if I can't do everything else, it's okay. It comes from that understanding that I'm going to do this one thing, but I'm going to do it fully. I'm going to be with it as best as I can at that moment. And I know from experience that just being with that one thing in the best way that I can is better than me forcing myself to do all these many other things just because it's what maybe I think is the right thing to do, or what other people may be doing, or what I think other people are doing.
Yes, yeah, that is really, really beautiful. I think a lot of people will definitely benefit from hearing this, because again, it helps you to lose up that judgment that we have. One thing that I did want to mention is that whenever we talk to other people who are doing certain practices, if it's yoga, meditation, or even other things, I would say specifically related to the Isha practices, is that people, whenever you tell them that you're not doing some practice, there's always a sense of, oh, you are wasting Sadhguru's life. He put out all his energies and you're not even following it and doing it. And I really feel that in between us, between each other, that we really have to stop to push each other to just do it. It's more about doing it with whatever you're doing. If you can just do that with your full involvement, just focus on yourself in that moment. And I feel that this can really help to transform your life in a way that is in the
Yeah, it's
the present.
very
Not yeah.
at the end of the day, it's you. It's a very process, a very personal journey that no one else is going to know what it is for you and what it will take you through. So, yeah, it's a good reminder to just whatever's going to be the best way for you. Of course, we have things that are helpful in terms of what we can do as guidelines. And of course, the way that we are doing it or the way that it's taught or offered is in a very specific way. But from there, when you're practicing and doing it for yourself, it's a very personal journey. What it is for me is can and is completely different for what it is for you or someone else.
And I feel one thing that I also, I would say I've understood or realized in the challenging times that I see as an opportunity now, rather than let's get this quickly done, let's move back to the efficient times where I do everything, is that never put your attention on anything that you don't want to grow. And if you feel like you're not able to do certain things and you're judging yourself for that, the more you're putting your attention on, oh, I'm not able to do this, I can't do that, and all that, it will just keep growing. And the guilt will actually be even more heavy on you than not doing the practices.
Yeah, this reminds me of something that when it really initially started my journey before I got into doing like practices with Isha and before I really even knew about Sadhguru, this was maybe 2013, 2014. I was going through a very difficult time at like a very young age. I was just experiencing depression and I'd wake up and not feel like I'm going to ever be happy ever again. And it was just like such a very down time for me that one, I'm grateful for it now because it helped trigger my spiritual journey to search for something more. But when I was in those moments, what I found to be helpful was I realized I can't judge myself for where I'm at or how I'm feeling because I'm so desperate and down. And I realized somehow okay, if this was someone else or if this was a baby, I just looked at myself as if I was a baby. How would I treat a baby? I wouldn't have these negative thoughts or emotions or treat it badly if it was sad or upset, and I started to apply those things to myself. And just even that mindset shift, it made a big difference to build myself back up and eventually find tools or become aware of tools that could further help from there. So
Yes, yeah, I truly resonate with that because again, it comes back to stop to judge yourself for feeling negative emotions, because actually we are the ones who have labeled it as negative. It can be used in a positive way, as you have just said. You went through depression and maybe there were some points where you were thinking this is the worst thing in my life, but now looking back at it, you can see it and you can understand that actually it was all leading you in the right direction. So if we can look at every situation in our lives in this way, then there's nothing that can ever work against us. It's always for our own benefit. And I love actually looking at times when I struggle with practices as a way to see, okay, how is life without doing it and how is life with doing it? Do I notice any difference? Where am I in terms of my state of being without these practices?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that full circle, by the way, just connecting all of that together. And that is a big point, is once you do start doing your practices doing a practice, the good news is that you can see the difference of what it's like doing it versus not doing it, even just for a day or a few days. And I think if you remain aware of that, that's enough for you to eventually come back to it. Just bring that awareness of, okay, hey, today I'm feeling like everything's going wrong, or why do I feel so tense and on edge? Why am I upset about this or that when really it's not a big deal? And then you think, oh yeah, I haven't been doing my practice. And it could be anything. These are just a few small examples, but that's what I can say is from my own experience, especially the longer you do it, you'll see how it changes as well. You may not be doing the same practices all the time because you start to sense, okay, this is what I need right now, or this is what my system and my body is calling for. And you have that sense or that awareness for what's right for you at that point, continuing to do things like that.
Yes, yeah, 100%, 100%. And if you can allow yourself to tap into that intuition, to tap into that feeling, what your body truly needs, and you don't judge yourself for not doing everything, then you can actually enjoy whatever you feel like doing, in the sense of you're still working on yourself, you're still growing, but now you're becoming aware of the things that you need to focus on, rather than trying to do everything and resisting some of it. So you're working, I think, well, there's a word, the path of least resistance.
Okay. That's exactly it. Because at the end of the day, all of this is about creating a better life for yourself. So why would you be creating more resistance or more friction? It's very simple. It's actually a very simple thing when you put it like that. And then naturally, you're going to do the things that are beneficial for your life. And this is something that I think about is like, okay, you mentioned this prior as well, but okay, one, what is actually going to be beneficial to help improve my life, improve the life of the people around me? What can I do to be better, to be able to do that? We only have one life. So if you are always remembering that, like, I only have one chance, why wouldn't you try to make the most of it? Try to make the best decisions for yourself, for the people around you, how you treat other people, how you treat yourself, right? If you're always thinking like, this is my only chance, right? As far as we know. And it's such a beautiful life. And even in those moments when it's not so beautiful in our experience, it's still there. You're still going to always tap into that and be able to see like, okay, even these down moments, I'm getting to experience that. I can grow from it. And I'm just being able to experience whatever those feelings are of sadness or anger or whatever it might be. It's just the ability to even have that. It's, what's the word? Like, you're grateful for all of it,
Yeah. It's time to slow down. I feel that there's a time to really ramp it up and go all in, and there's a time to slow down. And it can happen to you also that sometimes you feel very intense in your emotions, and if you do certain kriyas, you will actually feel them even more. So it can, the energy that you're generating with certain practices, it can actually make you feel that emotion even more intense. So at least in my experience, I understood that I should really listen to my body and my emotions in that sense as well, to understand, okay, what is it that I really need today, and without judging myself for it.
Okay. Yeah, and it changes. It's always constantly changing. The practices are something that it just, especially if you can sit and just self-reflect, you'll be able to see it and put the pieces of the puzzle together, so to speak. But it's always going to be a changing process. The years that I've been doing it, it's never been the same. It's always taken me through something for, of course, always for the betterment of myself, and which has helped me improve the relationships with the people around me, etc. But it's always going to be a work in progress for what you need to do to become the best version of yourself.
There's one thing that really helped me. It's basically how I tricked my brain to like doing hard things. it's pretty practical. It's something that happened to me when I was just struggling to get up in the morning, and I was struggling to do any kind of yoga or meditation or anything like that. There were days when I wouldn't shower until 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. And I used to wake up. There were times when I was waking up at 4 in the morning or earlier, just naturally wake up, take a cold shower, and do hours of exercise and yoga and meditation. It was also so smooth, and suddenly I found myself in this rut. And so what really helped me at that point in time was you have to pair an already existing habit. Like for me, I actually started going to the gym. So I couldn't get myself to get up in the morning. I couldn't get myself to take a run. I couldn't get myself to do yoga or meditation. But somehow I could get myself to go to the gym. That was something that I just in that moment felt like, okay, that's something that I feel excited about, and that's something that I want to do. And so I paired that going to the gym with every time I go to the gym, after I'm done, I will sit for at least 5 minutes and just be there. And so I was pairing an already existing habit, going to the gym, that I was used to doing, with one that I'm trying to work on, which was meditation. And so another example would be to pair your cup of coffee or tea with reading. For example, if you really want to start reading more, but you find yourself struggling with it, if you can place a book near your coffee maker so that when you make it, it's right there in front of your eyes, and you start to pick it up and reading. So eventually you will actually start getting used to reading whether you have coffee or not. So the action of opening up a book and reading becomes a lot easier, and it will become pleasant to you because you associate it with that coffee. So similarly, you can set up for example, if you love listening to a certain kind of music right now, or have some favorite album and favorite artist, you can put up that music, but only if you clean your space, only if you go for a run. So you combine something that you are really looking forward to with something that you're sort of struggling to do, and it makes it so much easier to actually get it done.
Yeah, I really like that idea of pairing it because, okay, let me pair this with something I'm already doing and work into creating that healthy habit of doing it. For me, it's like I keep my yoga mat, for instance, right next to my bed, so that it's always out. I'm always looking at it and seeing it, so that even if I haven't done my practice for that day for some reason, I'm always literally thinking about, okay, I need to do it. This is what I'm going to do. And if it doesn't happen, it's just mentally always there that like, okay, I want to do it. It's not like a resistance towards it. It's more of like, okay, I just know it's there. It needs to be in my sight. For me, that's what works, to be able to have that.